that is Brent. Hello everyone. I just thought I would do a little vlog today because I've just lost power. We got a red weather warning last night to say that like there's strong winds and it's Storm Eowyn, I think, as in the Lord of the Rings character. It's actually quite a nice sunny day outside, but it is windy. My neighbour messaged me to say that the electric pole had snapped down by her house, so she was like, we're gonna lose power at some point. I was sitting just chilling watching TV for a bit there and the power went out, so I'm not optimistic that it's going to come back on anytime soon if it's because of a snapped pole and a wire. Like, I feel like that could be damage rather than it just being a blip, but I'm still living in hope that it might come back on. I've decided today the only thing I can do, really, since the power's off, is to do some like fun non-electrical activities. So I'm going to try and do some reading. I'll probably read a book in a day because it's all I've got to do. But who knows, maybe I'll be able to read a couple, but I've never been able to read more than one book in a day. I don't know how other people can do it. If I read one in a day, I feel accomplished. Like, it is time consuming. Maybe I'm just a slow reader. So I'm gonna pick a book and I'm gonna read it. And I thought I'll bring you along with me and I can kind of talk about it while I'm doing it and kind of vlog my day of living like a Victorian because I have no power. Did the Victorians have power? I feel like the Victorians had power. Fuck me, I don't know. I haven't even had breakfast yet. It's a good thing I have a fridge full of like cheese and ham and I've got crackers. I don't have any bread, but I have loads of crackers so I can eat crackers. And I've got loads of fruit. I've got like apples, oranges, grapes, cucumbers, so I can have a nice little fruit salad and some crackers later for my dinner if the power doesn't come back on. So please do not judge my bookshelf. It is still a work in progress. I got this new for when I moved in here and I just kind of shoved everything on it, and then I've got like Christmas cards and birthday cards there that I just haven't put them away yet. Also, look at these cute, I got so many bookmarks at the book festival. So there's this one and then this one. And then I love this one as well. I trust the journey that I am on. Most of these books are all books I've not read. I've read those two, I haven't read those two. Cannot see what's back there. There's a varied mix here. Most of them are all books that I have not yet read. I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I picked this up not long ago in TK Maxx for $2.50. But I think I might try and read One of Us Is Lying, One of Us Is Next again because I remember them, but I don't really remember them, if you know what I mean. So I think I might try and reread those to be able to enjoy this one. So I don't know what I'm in the mood for. Murder at the Bookstore, maybe? I'm in the mood for maybe like a cozy murder book. Or maybe The Murder After the Night Before. I don't know. Could I read both? I always look at books and I'm like, oh yeah, I could read that. But then actually it's more pages than you realise. I need to tidy this at some point because it's a bit chaotic and I want to make it a bit nicer. So need to sort that out. So I'll maybe start with The Murder After the Night Before, and if I'm not really into it, I could read Murder at the Bookstore instead. They're both murders, so I tend to read mysteries a lot quicker. Might try them and see after I've made some breakfast. Watch the power come back on before I've even read anything and just defeat the purpose of today, but I don't think it will. It's wild out there. Excuse the fact that the windows are absolutely filthy. I think the wind has blown up so much debris, but the sun is shining, but it is windy. Sir, I'm trying to read. Good sir. Okay, so I've just read the first 96, what was it, page 100. So I've read 96 pages so far, and I must admit, I actually do like it. I wasn't too sure initially. I remember when I first got this book, I think just the cover and the whole like the murder after the night before, it kind of got my attention. I read the back and I was like, I'm not sure if this book's gonna be for me. I remember when I first got this book, I was like, I'm not too sure if this is gonna be for me. I will read the back to you so you can get an idea of what the book's about. Something bad happened last night, but I can't remember a thing. I've woken up with the hangover from hell, a stranger in my bed, and I've gone viral for the worst reasons. My best friend Posey is dead. The police think it was a tragic accident. I know she was murdered. There's only one thing stopping me from dying of shame. I need to find a killer. And I remember when I first read this, I was like, I've gone viral for the worst reasons. And I realised that, I think we talked about this once, I'm not sure. But I'm not a massive fan of social media in novels. I'm not a big fan of books that are set in like really modern times in terms of like this year kind of thing, or like the last 5 years, where like you've got people that are like, you get influencers, people talk about going viral. The same way I don't really like it in TV shows, like if it's like, oh, someone found this clip of you falling down the stairs and it's gone viral, it's got 1 million views, and I'm always like, is that really real though? Like, I know people do go viral and you get like viral things, but I feel like it has to be something either incredibly funny or incredibly stupid. And I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe this is just me nitpicking a bit much, but for some reason I don't like social media in novels. I don't mind the emails, like I don't mind a conversation format, whether it's like text or emails, I don't mind those. But for some reason I just don't like social media in books. And I don't know what it is, because I love social media. I don't know what it is, and I think it's not necessarily like, I don't mind people mentioning like Facebook or whatever. Oh, I scrolled through their Facebook profile and saw that he has a wife, he has kids, blah blah blah, things like that. I don't mind those if it's like we're gathering information. I think I'm going off on a tangent that's not even that important, but basically our main character, who's called, oh my god, I nearly forgot her name there, Molly, is Molly Monroe. She was on a works night out and she got really drunk, and she was recorded in like an alleyway or on a street doing something with a man that she shouldn't have been doing. How to say it in like polite terms, like oral intercourse. She was licking the lollipop. She was sucking the lollipop. She was, I don't know if I need to say it in other words. I hope you get, are you picking up what I'm putting down? She was giving him a little bit of this, but she was recorded. It was like a TikTok live, and then someone screen recorded that and posted it to Twitter. I did love that it's still being called Twitter. This book was probably came out before it became X, but it'll always be Twitter to me. I'm never calling it X. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. Like X. Twitter. So it went viral on Twitter, which I can believe that, because I know Twitter is full. My cat has just done something. I can believe that because Twitter is bad for having like nude photos and like pornography. I've always noticed that, and then it's gone viral and everybody's seen it, and within like no time at all people were commenting, were like, I think I recognize this girl, I know who she is. Which there's a little part of me that's like, would you though? Would you actually recognize, like in a dark street, someone's recording something, probably from the back, and or unless they came around, and would you really recognize them? Like, would you really? Because it was like, oh, I think I used to go to school with that girl, and it's like, would you really though recognize them? Maybe you would. It's one of those things that I'm like, I mean, I don't want to speculate too much, because for all I know, it could have some deeper meaning. So, you know, all the stuff that's kind of going on in the book, I'm like, it could have been that she was set up. It could just also be that, like, you know, do you know that way that I'm like, because I'm like, why would somebody go on TikTok live? I mean, people probably would if they saw something like that going on. Like, if I saw two people doing something they shouldn't out in public, I would just start to be like, what? And carry on my day and walk away. Like, I wouldn't be getting my phone out and going live on TikTok. Do you know what I mean? But I suppose you do get folk out there that if they see something, they will record things. So she does this, and it goes viral on it goes viral on Twitter, and of course everybody, they start naming and shaming her. And she works for like a teen girl magazine, so that's a bit awkward. But She's not yet lost her job, but I feel like in those situations you probably would. Then you've also got the people online that are being absolutely nasty and horrible, basically wishing death threats on her, which you're like, that is so true to life. I feel like that is so true to life. And then they're saying about how like no one's ever commented on like, well, who's this man? Like they're all focused in on her, and I'm like, that's so goddamn true. That is so goddamn true. That's one thing though, this book is kind of giving me a bit of like, because I'm probably a die-hard raging feminist, it is giving me that little bit of like joy that the author is making these comments of like, notice how they're not mentioning the man and calling out the misogyny of it. Like no one stopped to help to question this really drunk girl that was doing this act. She could have been being forced. The only thing I'm struggling to believe is that it's supposed to have gone viral. Everybody and their mum has seen it. So when it comes out that her flatmate, who's also her best friend, who's called Posey, she finds her passed away in her bedroom or in the bathtub. I mean, she calls the police and that, and it's like these middle-aged police officers, and they've seen the video of her, and I'm like, it's one of those things that I feel like when something like this happens, when somebody goes viral to the point where it's like a trending on Twitter and everybody's talking about it, not every single person in the world that you then meet, like it was talking about how it's had like 25,000 shares. I'm like, that's a lot. That is a lot for like a small town kind of setting. This is set in London. For like a small town, that's a lot of people. But actually, the only thing I'm struggling with is the fact that we're supposed to believe that literally everybody and their mum, even her dad, has heard about it kind of thing. And I'm like, would they though? Like, if something happened like that, my parents wouldn't know about it. Like, they're not on social media. And it's not the kind of thing I would be like, look at this video of this girl. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's the only thing I'm struggling with, is that we're supposed to believe that this has gone global, at least across the entire of Great Britain. And I'm just like, would it though? Like, that's the only thing I'm struggling with. Like, I'm just struggling a little bit that like every single person we meet, she's obviously speculating every single person we meet of, have you seen the video? Oh my god, I'm shitting myself. But I'm also like, would everybody have seen it though? Like, would they really? Anywho, so we're getting to the good part where her friend, she's discovered, has passed away. The police think it's a tragic accident. She was found in the bathtub with a bottle of wine beside her, so they're a bit like, tragic accident, she probably accidentally drowned. Then our main character Molly discovers an email from her friend that was sent the night before she died, or the night that she maybe possibly died, when Molly was out on her night out, saying some kind of, it kind of took me out of it a wee bit. It was a little bit like, it was a full information drop. So Posey basically said to her, like, they obviously have had an argument that Molly doesn't remember about because she was blackout drunk, and she's saying like, I don't want us to fall out and fight, but you were really out of order. I think you're like struggling with her mum passed away when she was younger, when she was 12. She's like, I think you're struggling, and you're struggling with your grief for your mum, and you're also grieving your dad a bit because she doesn't have a good relationship with him. She's kind of dropping all these things and saying, and then all of a sudden she jumps and she's like, also I've got something I really want to tell you. So Posey is a journalist, and she just suddenly drops in, also I think I figured something out about the Lulu, what the fuck was her name? Lulu, it was something stupid. Lulu Lawrence, that was the name. Lulu Lawrence. The Lulu Lawrence case. I think I found some information. And then at the end of that, she then says, she's like, it's just the way it jumps is the only thing I don't like. It's a bit of like, it's very convenient that she said all these things in her final email before she died, saying about how like, she's talking about her and the way you spoke to me tonight, Molly, I'm not your enemy, I'm your best friend, blah, blah, blah. Also, there's so much I want to tell you. I know what happened to Lulu Lawrence. I know that sounds mad, but I really, really would like to show you some stuff and get your opinion. It's weird and quite scary. I don't want to say too much over email though. Maybe we can talk tomorrow night when you get home from work. I'll buy us a takeaway. We haven't done that for ages. Then she jumps again and goes, I know this is super paranoid, but I'm worried about something happening to me. I'll explain tomorrow, but I want you to know that I put together a file. It's in the place, just in case anything happens to me. Haha, what do I sound like? I've been watching too many Netflix crime docs before bed. I just think, and then it pauses. Oh, hang on, I think I can hear you coming in. Haha, I'll just come and tell you myself. Love you lots, hate, argue, and Posey, 4 kisses. And I'm like, there was so much of an information dump in this one email that she'd sent to her friend to basically be like, I don't want to fall out with you. Also, why did she not text her? Why did she send it as an email? Why? But I could not imagine my friend and I falling out and she emails me. But I'm just like, it just pulled me out, just to critique it a little bit, it just pulled me out a little bit of the story and the flow of it, that her friend conveniently wrote all this information in an email that's like, I think I've solved this case. Also, I'm worried something might happen to me. Oh, hang on, that's you coming in now. I'll, you know, and the fact that she actually then still sent the email. Oh, I don't know. I'm a bit like, I also don't think anybody would ever say, like, if I was messaging somebody and they happened to walk in at the same time, I'd either stop the message and delete it because I'd then go and speak to them, or I would just quickly like finish the email and go. I wouldn't then be like, oh, hang on, I've just heard you walk in. Also, the only other thing that's bugging me, not bugging me, but it's a little bit weird, but it's also just a bit like, it's pulling me out again. This is the thing I have with books. They pull me out of the story a little bit if there's little things that bug me or I find a bit like, Our main character is called Molly Monroe, MM. Her best friend who's died is called Posey Porter, PP. Now there's Lulu, what did I say? I keep wanting to say Lululemon. Lulu Lawrence, LL. I'm like, what is with all these MMPP, like, what is with all the matching names, the matching initials? It pulls me out a little bit. It's nice and it rolls off the tongue. Oh, and that was one thing. When she called 999 to be like, hi, I've just found my friend dead in the bathroom, in the bathtub. What do? And the woman's talking to her and trying to keep her calm and all that. And she's like, what's your friend's name? And she's like, Posey Porter. And she's like, that's a really great name for a journalist. And I'm like, what? You would not say that on the phone to somebody about their friend who's just died, who's dead. Oh, that's a lovely name. It was a lovely name, but now she's dead. Even still though, I'm like, as I say, I've enjoyed the first 100 pages so far. The only thing that's like bugging me a little bit is the whole her porno viral moment is a bit like, it's just sad as well though, because you don't like that happening to anybody. So it's kind of making me sad for the main character, and it's just like an added extra stress for her. I'm wondering if it's going to be connected though in some way, which I don't know how that would possibly happen. The only other thing that's bugging me, not really bugging me, but the only other thing that I find a little bit, that I'm going along with it, but our main character, obviously, she woke up with a stranger in her bed. He basically found her when she was just in a right state, drunk, and like helped her get home, and has just been like lovely and a gentleman. The only thing that's bugging me is he keeps telling people or referring to himself like there are still gentlemen out in the world, because when the police were speaking to her and she called him to come round, because for some reason he's the only guy she feels that she wants to be around at the moment. And I'm like, you do have other friends. I know she's probably embarrassed not really wanting to see them, but would you really want to see the same guy that you've been like an absolute wreck around? Like, she's been spewing, she like didn't even remember meeting him, so the next morning she was like, I have no clue who you are, all those kind of things. But now she feels like he's the person she's the most comfortable being with. That would not be me. If I had been a blackout drunken mess and somebody's then telling me what I was like the next day, and I've just met you, I'm never speaking to you again. Never again. But he keeps referring, and I don't know if maybe it's going to be one of those, like, if it's a bit of like a red herring. Not a red herring. Is that the right term? I don't know. But if it's a bit of like a ploy, or like it's going to be something that he's actually related to this in some way, I really don't know. But just the fact that he keeps saying like, there are still gentlemen out in the world, like, yeah, I helped her get home safely. And they were like, well, why did you sleep in her bed? Could you not sleep on the sofa? And he was like, oh, I didn't, I wanted to make sure that she didn't choke on her vomit. And it's like, okay, sir. So now we've also got Jack, whose surname does not begin with a J, so that's nice. I've already forgotten what it was. Mayfield, May something, it started with an M. So far so good though. I actually, normally, like when I first started, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this book because I don't like the way the main character talks or like their inner voice. So when a book's written in first person and you're in their head, sometimes if I don't like the way they talk, I'm like, it ruins it for me a wee bit. But actually at first I was like that, but do you know what, honestly, she's already grown on me, and maybe it's because I've got compassion for her for what's happened to her, like the whole porno viral moment thing. But honestly, I like it so far, and I'm curious to see. Posey has definitely been absolutely having an affair with the neighbour, because there was something, he was acting a bit weird in the morning, and then the wife made a comment to Molly saying something like, now there's only one slut living next door, meaning Molly, meaning that the other slut, Posey, is dead. So I'm like, something's been going on here. Something has been going on. And see how much more I can get done, because obviously I'm working with daylight. So once the sun sets, which at this point, like, what time is it sort of setting these days? Back of 5? It will start to get darker though, but I suppose I'll get out the candles, read by candlelight, which isn't really the most practical. It sucks though having no power because my phone signal is just crap, so I can't even like message anybody and be like, hey, how you doing? And at this rate, I'll probably go to bed about 8 o'clock if it stays off, so yay. I don't want this to turn into like a spoiler video in case anyone actually reads the story, but my little brain is in overdrive because Molly has gone to Posey's workplace and cleared out all her stuff, and she's got access to her laptop and she's gone on it and she's found some files on the missing girl, and she's found an email from the girl's mother, and she's made a comment saying, I've tried to start my own website, I've tried to make groups on Facebook and Where's Lulu Lawrence on Twitter, but they were all gone in days. I've tried leaving comments and news articles, but they were all closed down. Even her YouTube and TikTok channels have been shut. It's like she never existed. I know this sounds mad and a bit paranoid, but my girl is missing and something is going on. Posey, please help me. You're my only real hope. Do you know what I'm suspicious of? Our boy Jack, because he told Molly he works in IT and he can make her, or he says like he can help. He's like, nothing lasts forever on the internet, really. Like, I can help you like clear up your search. He works in IT. Suspicious. So I'm about halfway through, a bit more than halfway through actually. I'm doing really well. So it's actually really good. Normally I get really frustrated when you have a character that's had some sort of blackout. So like in this case, our character got really drunk at their Christmas party and ended up getting blackout drunk. I am familiar with the experience. The only thing I always find a little bit untrue from my personal experience is if the character gets blackout drunk, they tend to then remember. They then tend to like get like flashbacks and get like memories coming back to them. Now I have had that sometimes where if I've been on a night out, say, and there's like, it doesn't take much for me to forget things or like forget conversations, and then if my friends or whatever will say to me like, do you remember this, do you remember that? And I'm like, yes. But if I've ever had a night where I've gotten really drunk and there's hit a point in the night where it's like, no, it's gone, everything's gone, like don't remember the rest of the night, don't remember getting home, don't remember coming home, that kind of stuff, and that's just gone forever. Like it's never coming back to me. But I don't know if it's different for other people, if they do actually have their memories come back. But this basically is that our character is slowly starting to remember things like from her night, and yeah, I still like it. I like that she's using her brain. She's at the moment, she's talked to one person, the boss of her friend Posey, basically said to him like, she's been looking into this case and I think she's been murdered, and he's also shutting her down. So I can't decide what this is going to be because the police are really uninterested in the case of the missing girl, Lulu, I keep wanting to say Lulu Lawrence. They've like shut it down and are like, no, her mum came and told us that she made a mistake and she withdrew like the missing person case, so job done, end of story. And the mum's like, no I didn't, and they're like, you're on anti-anxiety medication, so maybe you're just a little bit confused, and she's like, I'm not confused. Anywho, so there's clearly some sort of conspiracy going on with this missing 16-year-old girl who's been missing for over a year. So she went missing when she was 15, she's now 16, so now the police are like, she's 16, she can do what she wants, she can leave home if she wants to. Posey had been looking into that case and it's been a bit of a weird one because like there's a great like media blackout. I am excited and curious to see what the sort of story is with that there. Yeah, so there's like a media blackout with this missing girl where it's a case of like every time someone posts something about her, it goes down or it disappears. Bit of a like weird conspiracy, like what's happened to her, why is Posey's boss very reluctant, like he was like, I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told her, shut this shit down, and it's like, are you being blackmailed or something? Like, is somebody on at you to not report on this? Because this is very weird. But so far, I must admit, I'm really enjoying it. I still really like the main character. She's the main character I want her to be, if that makes sense. Like, so far, she's not really done or said anything that I would be like, I'm annoyed at you. She's doing all the right things in my book, which usually, like, if I get a character that's a bit of a whim or whatever, like, I just feel like she speaks to me. I like her. And so far, we've not seen much more of Jack. So I can't decide, though, if him having a background in IT is going to be related to the case, or she texted him to ask him, like, hey, I remember you said you work in IT, what can you tell me about the dark web? Because there's apparently stuff about Lulu on the dark web. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's the only reason why he works in IT, like in the book, in terms of like in the book. That's why the character works in IT, so we can help her. But so far he's not been like turning up too much, which I quite like, because when I get a book like this, it's a mystery and there's that little bit of romance. It's not really been romantic so far with them. Like, he helped her home after a night out and then he's been a good friend to her ever since, and there probably is going to be a romance. Probably. Yeah, there probably is going to be a romance. And usually, unless I'm reading a romance or a contemporary book, I'm not a huge fan of romance, like going into my mystery novels, because I'm more like, let's get back on track. We need to solve Posey's mystery, why she's been killed, and we need to find the missing girl. But the fact that Jack hasn't turned up too much yet, he probably will. His time is coming. He probably will turn up. I like that. I like that it's not immediately, oh, there's this guy that she only knew for like an evening, and you know, getting him involved and all, and they're teaming up together and stuff like that. That will probably happen. I'm just happy that it's not happened yet. Like, it's not happened right from the jump, because when things like that happen right from the jump, and there's that sort of dynamic of, she is, I think maybe what it is for me, I love a solo adventurer. Like, I love somebody who's going off and they're doing stuff on their own, rather than it being, here's my partner, he's a guy, I've kind of got a crush on him, he's kind of got a crush on me, but we're going to be mean to each other, or they're going to openly flirt with each other, or they are in love with each other, like different things like that. It's sort of, for me, I'm always like, I like it in TV shows because I'm there and I can see the chemistry. Sometimes when I'm reading it, I'm just like, can we skip to the good bit? Why are you on the table, sir? Why were you on my table? We're having a really great day. It's starting to get dark now though, so I've already lit a candle and I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Might need to, I don't really have a high enough table, but I might get a table and kind of build it up a bit beside me here and burn a candle. But it's getting to that point now where the sun is set, it's 10 to 5 and I have like my reading light. Power's back on! Oh my god. Oh, now I'm scared it's gonna go off again though. Oh, that couldn't have been more perfect. Yay! Oh, but now that the power's back on though, I'm actually gonna I might continue reading because I'm halfway through it. Yay, Pacheco! Yay! Well, hopefully the power will stay on, because then that means I can read. I can actually continue reading and not by candlelight. So I am very happy the power's back on now. I'm also a little bit sad because I'm like, I am into my book, don't get me wrong, I'm really into it. But now that like everything's back on, I'm like, will I go back on watch TV? Will I watch the Xbox? Play the Xbox. My boyfriend gave me his old Xbox so that we can play like online together, which was actually really sweet because I've never had an Xbox before. I was a PlayStation 2 girly, and then later life I had a Wii. Loved the Wii. And then in later years I've only really played, the only game I play is World of Warcraft, and I play that on computer, obviously, that's the only way you can play it. Yeah, so it's been really good fun getting to play that, and I get access to all of his games. So that's been really fun, and I've been getting to play Skyrim, which I've really been enjoying actually. Like, I remember when it like first came out, and my friend had an Xbox, and I can remember being at her house and watching her play and thinking it looked really cool. Taking me a while to get used to, and even just getting used to like the Xbox controls. My boyfriend gets really mad at me though when I tell him like what I've been up to, because he's like, you need to do the main quest, and I'm like wandering around with my little companion, just exploring and killing things and collecting things and just being a bit silly. But no, I think maybe tonight I will sit and finish that book because I have really been enjoying it. It is actually really good considering I went into the book with low expectations. It's been really good. really good so far, and I'm curious to see like how it's all gonna pan out, like what's gonna happen. You agree? He's been the best companion today, just sitting sleeping on me, keep me company. And you're the bestest. You're the bestest little snuggle bug. Yeah. I made a roast dinner last night for my parents, so I've got some leftovers that I'm gonna have today. So yeah, at least the power's come back on so I can eat. I'm glad the power's back on. Like, it came back at the perfect time. The best time to lose power is during the day when it's daylight and you can see, and then have it come back on at night when it's dark. Yeah, I completely agree. So I'm already halfway through my dinner, but this is what I made. So we've got leftover chicken from the roast, and then I did some cauliflower cheese, some roast potatoes, and some roasted carrots. Last night I finished reading The Murder After the Night Before. I've got like no time for this because I'm due at work in like 10 minutes. I ended up after dinner, like I played a bit of Skyrim, and then it got to like 10:30 and I was like, I'm gonna like read a bit more because I was a good like over halfway through it. So I decided I would like try and at least get a good chunk of it done. And then you know what it's like with a book, and it's actually the same with any book. There's always something that happens just at like the last quarter. Like, you can't stop. You just can't. And then I kept looking at it and I was like, I don't have much to go. Like, I can do it, so I can finish it. And that was at like 11:45. And then the next thing I knew, it was 11:50, and I was like, oh, whoopsies. But oh my god, I loved it. I freaking loved it. I feel like this book could have been written by me. It was exactly, it had all the little, like, I loved it. It had all those little bits of tidbits of information. It was feeding you clues along the way, like, and I picked up on them. I was like, oh my god, I feel so smart. It was really good. It was actually really good. I don't even want to spoil anything for you, because if you like a mystery, I would recommend reading it. It might not be everybody's cup of tea. I loved it. I feel like I loved the main character. I think she was quite like flawed, but not in terms of like, not an actual flaw, but like she was just struggling. She was struggling with her grief, and she was having like panic attacks, just being like a really nervous main character, but she pushed through it to solve the mystery. And the only criticism I have is that in the end, stuff came out that didn't really need, like, I just feel like it didn't really add to the plot. Like, I don't want to spoil any of it for you, but like the reason some of the main characters did what they did, not main characters, that's not what I mean, the like suspects, the reason they did what they did, it gave you had one reason to begin with, and you were like, oh, that makes sense, I can see why. But then they would switch it up and like be like, actually, this is why they did it. And it's like, well, you didn't actually need to do that. Like, that, what was the point in that? But apart from that, it was good. And then, you know, everything was starting to come out of what happened, who did what. I loved it. I feel like it was well written. I was gripped, especially in the last bit. The only thing the main character did, so in the email that Posey had sent to her, she made reference to like, I've made a file, you need to find it. Eventually when she does find it, when Molly does find it, later on in the story, she goes off to do something else and she just leaves it at the flat. Like, she's worried about somebody, and she's like, I need to get out of here. And she just leaves it. She leaves the stuff with the important evidence on it. And I was a bit like, why would you do that? Why would you not carry that on your person at all times? Like, take it with you, because if you know someone's coming over that you're a bit suspicious of, take that shit with you, or at least hide it, because as usual, a person got to it and smashed it. It never made reference to that. It didn't sound like, they never mentioned like, oh yeah, like the evidence was destroyed, but we were able to recover something, or that's a bit of a spoiler. It never really was mentioned again, so I don't think it really mattered. But everything had a bit of a happy ending, I would say. And yeah, it just didn't really go the direction I thought it was gonna go, and I loved it. I was so chuffed. I love when a book surprises you like that. I love when you're thinking, oh, this is probably gonna be a bit meh. I just didn't really have high expectations for it. I don't know why I didn't. I think it's just reading the summary on the back. I was like, I'm interested, but I'm unsure if I'm gonna be that bothered. I didn't think I was gonna like, but I really love the author's writing. It was really good. It was a bit of me. That's the way to describe it. As somebody who is very particular and also does love to write, I loved the way she writes. I would give that 5 stars. I'd give it all the stars. That's up there maybe as like one of my favourite mysteries, just for the fact that like, what high praise indeed. I just feel like it was really, really good. As I say, it's probably not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and other people will probably find like faults with it, maybe don't like the main character, whatever, but I fucking loved her. I loved her. And actually I realised, I think part of the whole thing, the whole porno thing with her, it does play into a lot of things, which I thought it probably would, but it also I think was just as a way to like kind of discredit her, so like people wouldn't really take her seriously, and you know, bad guys that she's speaking to are a bit kind of like, I know you, no one's gonna believe you kind of thing. So I feel like that was actually, yeah, it all tied in together. The only thing we didn't actually find out was, one thing was, we never actually found out what Molly and Posey argued about, because that was referenced in the email that she remembered seeing Posey and shouting at her, and Posey had emailed her and mentioned it about like coming back to the flat and sorting things out because they hate when they fight. And she did get some of her memories back from that night, and she remembered a conversation with some of her co-workers, but it was never ever disclosed what they argued about, what Posey and Molly argued about, so we never found that out, which doesn't really matter, I suppose. If it didn't really matter to the plot, it could have been anything. Not the end of the world, not a big deal. I do like all my boxes ticked and my questions answered. And then there was one other thing. At one point, Molly kept referencing that Paloma figured out or had her suspicions of who or what happened to Lula, and twice she said it, of like, Paloma believed, Posey believed this. Posey, did I say Posey? Posey believed this. And I was like, when did she say that? Like, at no point. And then I flicked back as well. I flicked back through the email, I flicked back through the files that she had, I flicked back other stuff, and I was like, I could not find a point where Posey had said, this is what I believe happened, this is who I believe did it. So I don't know where she got that information from. I couldn't decide if that was just the author knew in her brain, this is what Posey believes, so then she told us that, but she told us through Molly, who at the same time of us shouldn't have known that. But hey ho, that's just a small, she maybe was just guessing. But yeah, it was really good. I'd give it 5 stars, and I'm really chuffed that I managed to read it all in one day. I think it was about 320-ish pages, which actually isn't that long. It takes me so long to read a book. This is why I'm like, I could not read a book in a day. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Maybe it'll be another little reading vlog like this. Knowing this will be up before the December one, because I'm just so lazy.